We're more than halfway through 2026, which means it's time to look back at the best games we've played so far this year and ask a big question. Which games are genuine Game of the Year contenders, and which ones are about to get swept aside when the autumn heavy hitters arrive? We'll be building kind of our own Game of the Year shortlist, rating each game's chances of making it to December, and try to predict what the Game Awards conversation might look like by the end of the year. We're also going to be catching up on what we've been playing, checking in on each other, Pixel Replay, and much more, because this is the Pixel Parents Podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents Podcast, the show that discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I'm your host, Liam Kirkkelvin, and today I'm of course joined by, for the penultimate time, the bearded one, Scott, the OG tastemaker, and soon to be dad of two, Curry. How are we, Scott?
Speaking of hemorrhoids, I am hanging on by a thread, Liam. You know, I'm dangling by the threads of life. Blood pustulating from my anus.
Oh, good God.
Liam was talking about having hemorrhoids before the show started, and
oh, yeah, of course.
It's just devolved into fucking disgusting chaos.
I'm not even sitting down. I'm on my knees.
No, he's actually just on his knees begging for relief. I'm fine though, Liam. It's not been long enough since we last recorded for us to be like, a whole week hath passed.
Yes.
For the love of the listeners, this has been recorded early because both me and Liam are out of the country.
Mm-hmm. And we're both going to be in the same country, which is England. I'm going to the Big Smoke for the day. But yeah, we thought we'll get things done early, Scott.
Indeed.
So nothing, if not organised. But yeah, I mentioned it off the bat there, the penultimate show. You know, we're just next week we're going to be giving Scott, unless of course plans change, but plan is we're going to be giving Scott his official send off whilst he goes on his much needed and deserved paternity break, and we look forward to kind of hearing about that adventure when he returns.
Sabbatical. We've slowly been picking up all the baby shite that you have to get, you know, milk makers and balls and dummies and all that stuff. So it's all coming together, Liam. And suddenly, you know, if I didn't have hemorrhoids already, I'd be getting those in.
Oh man,
what a hemorrhoid chat. I don't actually have hemorrhoids, folks. It's just right. Aye. It's just a pain in the ass. But no, it's been exciting. Like just getting all this stuff together. Looking forward to the new arrival. I think my wife will either pop or, you know, this baby's going to have to be forcibly removed because it's he's no for moving. But it's exciting stuff, you know. I've been feeling the effects of the impending arrival in terms of games that I want to play, Liam. And you might be thinking at home, Scott has been trying to devour every game in existence in the lead up to this. And would you be surprised if I told you, no, I can't settle on one because I don't know what I want to play. It's horrific. So I've just been fanning about, and I'm sure we'll get to that point soon. I'll talk to you through the 4 million games that I've played this week. But apart from all that, how are you?
I'm very well, sir. Very well. You know, it's been a good weekend. World Cup fever is alive and well. Time of recording, you know, Scotland are at the top of their group, and I'm just going to can we end it here, and that way we get into the next round. That's the only chance we've got. But no, it's been good. You know, the bank holiday here was the kids enjoyed it. Get it round you, Susanna Reid, and yeah, it's just what
the fuck is that all about? Why does she care?
You know, it's the rage baiting of the media, and here we are talking about it. You know, mission accomplished. But for that, it's funny you mention it because I'm in the exact same mood as you, and I'm in a wee bit of I can't decide on what I'm playing. And I've had a good few evenings to myself, and over the weekend there, and I went on a journey, Scott. went on a journey. I've played a little bit of everything. I even went back to play bloody Halo Infinite at one point on xCloud, which was dreadful. But you know,
of course
it was one of those ones where I was like, I'm just in that mood, but it's not that I'm bored. It's more just kind of in that mood, just like, oh, I'm in the mood for a wee picky plate of games. But we'll get into that. Before I do, I'm going to get some housekeeping at the road. So if you're old, if you're new, you should know. This is the Pixel Parents podcast, which is a weekly gaming show run by parents discussing all things gaming whilst raising little ones. Fluffed it already.
It's a gaming.
You can get new episodes every Friday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So please subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss our very tired faces. Please find us on Blue Sky at Pixel Parents or bsky.social, or email us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. You can support the show for free at patreon.com/pixelparents. Get bonus shows, community chat. It will cost you nada. We're also on Reddit at r/pixelparents. And if you can, drop a 5-star review, share the podcast online, whatever you do. It helps us out. And a massive thank you to everybody that does join us each and every week. Now, Scott, it has been a busy few weeks. Busier for most, for yourself actually, than most, should I say. Highs and lows gaming-wise. Been a lot of, crap in the news, but we're not going to go there. But tell me, what game or games has been keeping you busy lately then?
Oh, fuck. Let's break the list down here, Liam. So last week we spoke about my return to Dragon's Dogma 2. And I did return to Dragon's Dogma 2. I got as much as starting a brand new game all over again, because for as horrible as that game played, and still plays, to be sure, I had no idea what I was doing. So I made my new character in Dragon's Dogma 2, which is just an older version of Sting that I made the last time. So I'm now Sting 2, and I'm just running about stabbing folk. And I don't know what they've done performance-wise, but this game runs so much better than when I played it last time. I don't know if I had the PS5 Pro previously.
It did.
Or whether or not they've got an update for it.
It did have an update applied to it since you've last played it.
It plays substantially better. Like you've got a versatility, a balanced mode, which kind of teeters the line between the two, which is nice. Like it doesn't look great. It's not it's not an eye candy. Still looks like shit, but it plays better and it runs at a stable frame rate, so you can tolerate it a bit better. Your pawn characters still don't shut up though. Just for a moment, just use peace. I know you don't need to have them, but try and kill harpies with a sword and tell me you don't. But it's been fun. I refuse to admit my opinion has changed on this game, but I'm going to give it time, because it's something that I find that if I turn my PlayStation on and it's there, I'm going to play it. Like I'm going to actually play the fucking thing. So I can't help myself. But then I got bored. I was like, I want something just. I want chewing gum, Liam. I don't want a whole meal. I just want an appetizer or dessert. So I looked in the PlayStation Store, and ever since it was released, I've been eyeing up this game, and it's always just been a little bit out of the price range. It's always just been a wee touch too expensive for me to be like, yeah, I'll buy it. And I looked at it again, and it was like 40 odd quid, and I was like, no, fuck that. But then I saw it comes as a bundle, right, with 1 and 2 in it, and it was £25. It's like, why is that cheaper? Doesn't make any sense. But now I am the proud owner of the Capcom Fighting Collection, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and I purposely wanted to buy Collection 2 just so I could play Capcom versus SNK and Street Fighter Alpha 2, or Alpha, whatever it is. But I'm still terrible at it. No, I've never claimed to be good at these games. But maybe it's just my old age. But I play Capcom versus SNK. I get through maybe 3 of the fights. I die, and I'm just like, I'm fine with what I've done here today. I didn't come to win. I came to take part, and I've been taking part in that game, and it's nice. That I can see why people love that game and still do. So it's cool. Which then leads me on to another game, Liam. One of the games of the show that we announced, or we didn't announce, but we called the games of the show, for Summer Games Fest. The last game that they showed us was Final Fantasy VII Revelation. Is that right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I couldn't remember the name of it there. And you made a remark sort of on the show talking about if it's time to go back. Is it time to go back to Rebirth?
Mm-hmm.
And I did, Liam.
Nice.
I went back to chapter 12 at the Golden Saucer during the whole Loveless scene, this scene where you're doing the show, and I was there, and I was like, yeah, man, like, I love this shit. I love this. And looking at all the characters and stuff as well, just like the door chaps. There's a scene with Zach, and then the door chaps, and Tifa's at the door, and it's like, we're home. But again, it's just like, I'm torn between trying to finish the game, the playthrough that I'm on, because I want to do the platinum grind, and I think that may be something that can sustain the interest, but it's also, I have to get through a normal playthrough and do all the other shite in between that. So I have to get through this part so I can get to the combat and stuff all over again, before you get to like the Temple of the Ancients and all that afterwards. So
yeah,
I need to go and do all that. But it's just like, in my head, I want to do it, but then also I'm just like, I can't be arsed. Like, there's just nothing driving me forward. It's the same with the Switch. Every single game on my Switch to play, Xenoblade Chronicles 1, can't be arsed playing that. Tomodachi Life, can't be arsed playing that. If I have a millisecond, I'll maybe play Vampire Crawlers for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And that's what I've been doing at night.
Excellent.
I'll shove it on for 10 minutes and I'll fall asleep with it in my hands. And then I'll wake up pure, and then that's me. I'm done. So that's been the buffet approach, having bits. I'm the Homer Simpson watching the football, dipping into everything and picking things here and there. I'm all over the place.
Sometimes, so you need to do that, like, because I think, especially coming off the back of something, I look at 007 First Light, right? We talked about it a few weeks ago, and it was so focused. And it was great because it was just that in and out, 12, 15 hours, and I was like, it's been so long since I've had a game like that. And there's some games where it's like Marvel's Wolverine in September. I know I'm going to do the same, and I'll probably do the mop up, and I'll be like, a good 20 hours, and I'll be like, I'm very satisfied with that. And coming off the back of that, you've got too many options.
Yeah.
And this is in the collection, not to buy as new. We talked about Final Fantasy Rebirth. I mean, like, I've not played it since the PS5 Pro update was there, because whenever I reload it takes me right back to the final fight. And if you've not played it for like 2 years, going back to the very end boss is not a good idea. So maybe I should, start it again, but it's such a long opening. And speaking of which, I've been playing more Octopath Traveler 0, but I've hit the point where the game's like, nah, you need to grind, my guy. Like, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Just this one boss keeps on kicking my ass. So it's like, I need to go back and grind a little bit, which is a shame, because if you've ever played any of these games before, and boss encounters always have like kind of smaller minions around them, and it's almost like a puzzle. Like, how do you want to kind of get that shield down? And I'm thinking, right, I just need to take out the big guy, then I'll get rid of the other ones. But they hit hard, man, and it's just like, I need to go and grind, get some new equipment and that. So I've been kind of back and forth between that. But I've kind of, Lego Batman, I've enjoyed more of the open world, which is great, because that's been good for that kind of, just say, chewing-gum moments, like sometimes you just need something to just float about in. But I was like, nah, it's just not really hitting. And then I remembered the Pixel Replay. So I've been playing a lot of Tetris Effect. I'm like, oh no, like, I'm playing too much of it. Like, any second I was getting spare, so just stick it on. And you go, stick it on. So working on my score, just enjoying that, putting on a podcast sometimes, playing it, and just kind of like losing hours. That wasn't enough, Scott. Wasn't enough. And there was one other game that's re-entered my life and took over. I'm playing it on multiple platforms. It's Balatro.
Oh, God.
I know, and I can't. I'm just thoroughly enjoying, and I think that's the thing. It's like I've taken the scope right down, so I'm just like, this is it's just scratching something the now where I'm like, okay, this is home again, and me with a card game. Probably should go back to Rebirth for a bit of Queen's Blood again, but I'm really loving that. But then going back to like Xbox, and I did something surprising as well. So as I mentioned, picked up Halo Infinite. I was like, I'll stick it on xCloud because I was wanting to play something else, but it needed an update. So I was like, I'll push the Xbox to its limit. I'll put Halo Infinite on xCloud while this download, and it didn't run great. Despite there's like a beefy Ethernet cable plugged into that bad boy. So Forza Horizon 6 was doing great, but I was just kind of like, I don't have it in me to kind of get lost in this because I was really wanting to play this. Update finished, right? I'm like, here we go. And I went in for a couple of rounds on Black Ops 7 because I thought, I'm just feeling that need to just, something that's going to just really command my attention for 10 minutes, and I put it back down, and it was great. I was like, I was able to have way more fun. It must have been rebalanced since launch. But I was like, this is exactly why these type of games are there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Similar to the Balatro, similar to the Tetris effect. It's like I'm in a short burst mood just now as opposed to sitting down for that first light, big, long stay. I'm only there for the weekend. I'm not there for a 2-week stay. And I know that's to come because we're weeks away from Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced, mouthful. And I'm going to live there all summer, at least until the next, big tranche of games coming, like September or something that we talked about last week. But it's weird when it hits. You know what I mean? Like it is one. It's not that there's been a lack of other things. It's almost been like too much on the plate.
Yeah.
And I know it's kind of like, oh, poor me. There's too many games, but that's kind of the problem when you've a master games collection, isn't it? Like you're like, well, what do I do? Then you always have the same thing, don't you? You mentioned Dragon's Dogma on your PlayStation 5, right? I bet you scrolled over Dark Souls or one of the Souls games in that process as well, didn't you?
I forgot recently that I bought Dark Souls Remastered, and I still have it. Like, I have 2 copies of Dark Souls Remastered in my cupboard there because I've never done anything with it. But I looked at the game and I was like, maybe we could do it. But I just, I just can't be asked.
I mean, I have, in a few weeks past, I dabbled in going back to Dark Souls 2. It's been sitting in my mind a lot lately. Don't know why. Like, it's the kind of like the ugly duckling of the whole entire series.
So ugly.
It is ugly, and then I still don't, fog walls and the ADP stuff, with your iframes getting reduced, and it's like starting a new character. It's like, put everything in ADP so you can actually get your iframes when your dodge rolling, because the game is absolute bullshit for like giving you like snidey hits. And I contemplated, but in amongst all of that maelstrom of options, there was Balatro.
Yeah.
And to the point there I am sitting at night time and playing at my phone as well, which is mad, but I'm just like, I need to do it. And it's like, I've not beat every single challenge, in terms of like all the decks. So it's like, it's been good just kind of going back, doing that, getting some absolutely insane combos. But I do think it is just because, we go through weeks like this.
Yeah.
Like you've got a shit ton in your mind just now, right? Your mind isn't present in, stuff to do after the fact. It's very much present in what am I going to be doing during the fact, which is there is a massively exciting moment just about to it's on the horizon, right? So of course it's going to be like, I'm just wanting something short, sweet, like he says, a little nibble, a little nacho chip, not a full meal. That's what you're after. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, we mentioned it last week, the rule of 3 when it comes to games, having a big one and 2 other ones. You know what I mean? So I'm very much in kind of that mindset. But I think it's not surprising because summertime, I think this time last year, it was the same thing with Death Stranding 2. Mm-hmm. After finishing that, we were both kind of like in the wilderness, like, what do I do? You know what I mean? And you platinumed it, so God knows how you would have felt after that. Man.
I'd go back in a heartbeat, Liam. Take me back. It's just but again, the thought, I have no idea where my mind is in terms of what I want to play. I've got so many plans. And you've Steam Next Fest coming up as well. It's like, so much fucking shit to play. I desperately want to play Wind Waker, so I think on my train journey, I'm going to play Wind Waker the whole way down. Just going to get the Switch out, headphones in, and just fucking batter that for the hours that I'm on the train. I can't wait.
That'd be delightful, man.
We're supposed to
bring a charger.
We're supposed to be going out for dinner and all that, and I'm just like, I might just stay in bed and just play my Switch all night and pure old man it. But
listen, I am an advocate for that. I remember when I had my first, it was my daughter, and she was just a baby, right? So she was months old, had to go down to Birmingham for a work event, and it was like, oh, well, I'll go out for dinner and drinks afterwards. I got fed, and then I just went up the road to the hotel room. So, I'll stay out, what's the deal? It was like, 9 o'clock or something. And I'm like, listen, mate, if I'm getting a chance to get some sleep and go to my bed, you better believe that I'm going to my bed. It's like, and I had my Switch packed and all that, best of intentions, but it's like I could sit up and play like Breath of the Wild, which would have been like just out a year at that time. And it's like, nah, I'm going straight to my bed. There's a lot to be said about, taking the leisure route on these work trips,
taking the high road. But no, I'm undecided yet. I think I've got a lot of things there to kind of to play. So I'll come up with a plan, and that'll be the topic for next week. I'll give you my timeline of where my head is at and what I plan on doing during the paternity leave.
We look forward to it. We want you kind of hear that'll be kind of next week's main chat. But what is Scott Curry's advice and game plan for keeping in touch with the thing that he likes to be distracted by most when his life gets a hell of a lot busier? It's going to be a juicy one. But I like we tease for next week. But Scott, it wasn't all good this week. The last week tail end of the episode, we were talking about the breaking news that happened about the Xbox layoffs, and time of recording looks like there'll be more cuts coming. The name is escaping me. The developers are South of Midnight. There we go. Thank you. Compulsion Games looks like they'll be the first on the chopping block here, which shocked me because I'm like, I genuinely thought it'd be Double Fine. Everybody's saying Double Fine, panicking for them. And it's a real shame because South of Midnight, won BAFTAs, it got all this kind of praise, deservedly so, in terms of how they crafted that world, something different in the space. Wasn't, a 10 out of 10 game, but I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it after beating it earlier this year. But it's just a shame because you're like, well, you want kind of people taking a swing like that within the space. You don't just want safe hitters. And I don't know, man, like, afterwards, we were quite pissed off after recording yesterday because it just kept coming out. It's like, no, stop. The news is terrible already. And they did bit after bit to the point we did consider, should we do an extra? I thought, we'll let it marinate. Scott, just a quick question. Like, how fucked do you think they are at this point?
Fuck knows, mate. Fuck knows. It's like Compulsion are probably the lowest rung on the ladder there. Like that's the easiest one that you can throw out. Unless we see a big name fall, like then I think we're okay. Not us, but I think Xbox can get away with it. Like I'm seeing it now. I was reading it earlier on, and people talking about the fact that it wasn't a 10 out of 10 game, definitely wasn't Game of the Year worthy. Blah blah blah. It's like, the game was perfectly fine. It's like, right, but these are people with jobs. These are people with livelihoods. Like, South of Midnight wasn't my favourite game of last year, but it done a lot well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it captured the spirit of, the South. Is it the South of America?
The Bayou.
The Bayou, and it captured that, and everyone that you hear talk about it loves all that shit about it. I never gelled with it because it's not the kind of game that I like, but every other person in the world seemed to really get on board with it. But I think that these, the big issue is that, they've had a few shiners in there as well. Like We Happy Few didn't click. I don't know about Contrast. I know Contrast was all right. Like I don't remember it very well, but I know We Happy Few came out to quite a lot of fanfare and then just kind of died with a whimper. So I think that's the kind of death knell with all this. I think if South of Midnight was a fucking smash hit, 10 out of 10s across the board, then we'd be having a very different conversation. It's almost like the team that makes Senua. Like,
I mean, if they didn't announce that Ninja Theory, you would be worried for them. But then again, who knows? I wouldn't be surprised. It's like, thanks for that, off you pop. Like, because they were even talking about, there's rumours that Microsoft want to spin Xbox off into its own entity at this point.
I was at Satya Nadella talking about the fact that YouTube gaming makes more money than Xbox. It's like, fucking, of course it does, mate. You're a fucking idiot. Like, that guy's in charge of a multi-million-dollar corporation, part of it, and it's like, the guy's an idiot. Probably found that in Chat GPT.
It's incredible how we continue to give exceptional power, wealth, and reward to the most unexceptional people in there, and he's one of many. And the week where we've had a trillionaire, and these people still don't have anything rattling in there. But like it says, the empty can rattles the loudest at the end of the day, doesn't it? But I'm just not sure what the hell. It's like just after like a summer game fest.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, that feels like maybe they're turning the corner, but we're all very sceptical because it's like, I don't know if putting it in block caps and a new lime green logo is going to fix this. But, well, here we are. It's like the mask is off.
Liam, you think about that. I was thinking about it at work the other day, and it was like, yeah, it's bad news. Bad news, Barrett, you know. I have some bad news, you fucking cunts. But it's like, yeah, sure enough, we're going to be closing down compulsion games tomorrow. It'll be double fine. The next day it'll be fucking some other nonsense, right? Ninja Theory, for example. But Gears of War E-Day hits, does well, and all sins are forgotten, you know? Like everyone just magically pure, oh, Xbox are back, baby. Everything's great, everything's rosy. It'll happen, Liam. Like all the fucking green-faced assholes are going to be like, Xbox is back because Master Chief is back. Oh,
empty cans again, none. Like I think
I just don't see it. Like she's obviously pandering to this crowd, and that's the kind of crowd that don't care about these games of, you know, people from the Bayou and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Yeah, they don't care about games with you know, culture. It's they just want shooty bang John McHalo, and it's like, yeah,
John
cool.
Halo.
Like it's just idiotic. It's
one thing that I'm finding troubling about it, and I will speak from a bias, but there's been one or two times they mentioned that the heaviest hits is actually going to happen within the Xbox team, not so much in the game studios, but within the marketing team, and they're slashing it, which is troubling because obviously the marketing hasn't resonated, hasn't been great, right? And it's not to say that they're not, you know, doing the thing. It's just that you just got to put stuff out there, throw your hat over the wall and see where it lands. It's not done it. They've not managed to successfully communicate the positives of owning an Xbox, and instead it's all the negatives that keep rising of it. It's almost like they've become a PR crisis handling machine, and getting rid of that. And then clearly there's going to be a huge pivot to AI. So I'm like, they're going to replace a lot of that, I think, with AI-led marketing, and it's going to be a very much a AI-first like gaming division. I think one by one, you're going to start to see things that might not make a lot of sense drop off. The Coalition, they're doing Gears E-Day. I think, yeah, it'll come out. I fully expect that to be a solid 8 out of 10, right? The ceiling for that for me is a 9. But if it hits an 8 out of 10 experience, delighted. It's not going to set the world on fire. The thing that's worrying me the more as an Xbox fan, a gaming fan, is Halo Campaign Evolved. So I'm like, it feels like that is like almost a test for what they're wanting to do next. And it's like, right, we took it as far as we could go. Halo Infinite didn't really do it. Let's go back to the roots, get the fans on board, all the rest of it. At the time, it's like, let's push it on PS5, reintroduce Halo to a new audience, etc. And they're still doing that, but if they do the second one and they want the multiplayer bang and all the rest of it, it's just not going to land. And I don't actually think they're going to have the opportunity. Well, I fear they're not going to, because I feel like the tide has already turned. The big fear that we had when Asha Sharma was first announced is that she is the AI Grim Reaper. And then she had a great first 100 days or so, and it was like bringing down the Game Pass price, all the rest of it, saying all the right things, doing the right things as well. But then the timing of it, right after Summer Game Fest, like, what are you thinking? Like, absolutely batshit insane. And I say this, like, yes, Xbox might not be my most played console. I'll play the ROG more than I play the Xbox, but I'm playing that because it's a PC. Don't really treat that as an Xbox. And I might be thinking, well, why do you care? And it's like, because I think for us, people similar ages to ourselves and older, maybe a little bit younger in some cases, they've grew up in a time where Xbox probably was their main guy. You know what I mean? That Xbox 360 or the original Xbox was like, that was the one. And the incredible nostalgia and the platform that they had, granted, It always feels like 360 ran away with it that generation. They did for a bit. They ended up getting outsold by the PS3 in the end, which is an insane stat when you think about it. But it's one of those ones where still it's like that generation was theirs, and it will since then it's just been a complete drop off, and it continues now. And I don't think they're ever going to be able to get back. I think they're comfortably third, but they're slow. In fact, I'd say they're comfortably fourth. But take PC above that as well.
Yeah, I think 100%. Aye,
insane.
The fact that they're having to lean so heavily on PC gamers, PlayStation gamers, and stuff as well is that's it. We want to get back to a stronger Xbox. It's like, listen, see if you're going to make a strong Xbox, like you have to sell Xboxes. See, to sell Xboxes, you have to make games for Xbox. That's fine. Let's make Gears E-Day a console exclusive. Fair enough. But what next? You know what I mean? Like, you're still going to have 3-4 years down the line where you're going to have to fart games out at a fucking record pace because you're not going to have time to make these mistakes again. People are not going to give you that time. Like, gamers are the most critical people on earth. Look at us talking about fucking Xbox every week at this point. It's like infuriating the fact that the decisions that they make, but it's just, I just can't see the positives of it. I just don't see I don't see the upswing. I can't see it. I don't know where it comes from them. I think if Gears E-Day was a 10 out of 10, I still don't think that changes anyone's life. Doesn't change anything. Like, it's and I think that as soon as you start to talk about AI and all that and that shit, if they were the first, that was the first domino to fall, and that became widely known. Death knell for them. It's fucked. Gamers, like real human beings, don't want that from Xbox.
I think it's, they say it's Project Helix, which obviously is probably to go in, probably leaning towards the DNA, obviously DNA Helix, but a Helix is also a spiral, which is ironic because it feels like they're on a downwards one just now, and I do feel that droll. I do think that the end game for Xbox is the same as it was when Phil was there a couple of years ago, and we'll talk about it in the show, is that their future at best is a third party publisher, and I think actually sometimes your best is embracing it instead of fighting it. It's like, do you know what, fuck it, we might make like some custom, mega souped up just for the mega hardcore hybrid PC console player. It's $1,500, who cares, right? And that's not for everybody. And we'll do that as a one-off, but we're not selling consoles to the masses. We're going to almost be like the way that ROG is just now. They'll sell just like these big souped-up devices, but they're not going for the masses. And that's cool. Yeah. But then they're the biggest publisher in the world, so it's like, let's just publish stuff, and they'll probably cut their cloth a wee bit, but it's like, do you know what? Xbox Game Studios, let's do that. Let's get partnerships everywhere. Let's try and get Game Pass here, there, and everywhere as a service, the same way you get EA Play and all that type of stuff, and that's how you maybe get in bed elsewhere. But that's probably the best case scenario. They're never going to be back on top outselling PCs, outselling Nintendo and Sony.
Nah.
And it's not that they have to be, every league needs a motherboard, Scott. That's all I'll say. You have people that are just good, just kind of chilling there, to the mid to the top of the table. Everything then is a relegation battle, but it's like, cool, we'll get him for 6th next year. It's that type of thing, but pissed off the entirety of motherboard.
I know, as you just fucking, they're all coming after you now. The Steelmen are all arming themselves.
I know, not a bit banter, but you get the point.
I know what you mean.
If they had a Real Sociedad or something like that, that's probably the best way I could kind of, liken it to something. But I don't know. I felt it was worth us touching on this week because it is big news and it's a moving feast. By the time this episode goes live, so I hope to God it doesn't get worse, but it will. It always does. But promise you, there'll be none of that next week. We're getting it out of the system because next week's going to be a celebration, you see. But yeah, I digress. I think we should move on to the main topic, Scott, because we're talking about all this stuff that's to come, but really we should be looking back on what really has been a belter year for games in 2026. But before I do, if you do enjoy the show, you want to support us, you can, and it won't cost you a penny. So please go join our free Patreon community. Visit patreon.com/pixelparents for every show, chats, and bonus shows including Side Quests with Scott, free all the time. And don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Just visit youtube.com/@PixelParentsPodcast. Whose stomach is rumbling? Is it mine or
mine. I can't stop it. Like, I don't know what it is. I've had my dinner, I've eaten, and it's just I'm still hungry, apparently.
He's hungry for discussion, folks. That's what that is. Hungry for discussion.
Hungry for learnings.
Indeed. But yeah, it's almost like an annual tradition at this point, the halfway point of the year. And the main topic this week is simply the best games of 2026 so far. And what will be, is there a game of the year in there? Is there something that will still be in the conversation? I'm going to take some time and go through that. But Scott, let's set the scene first. Set the scene. Has 2026 been a good year for video games?
Industry-wise, or the actual games themselves?
Just the games, just the playing, just the hobby.
I knew the answer to that question. I was just being an asshole. Oh, God. I wrote down a very long answer to that question, but to keep it short, to keep it sweet, Liam, and I will elaborate if you would like me to.
Always.
Yes, is the answer to your question. To elaborate a little bit more on that, if you will allow me.
Please do.
I think that the sign of a good year in games is when you've got multiple options for Game of the Year at this point in the year. Now, that's not to say that you can't have a year where one game storms it from the very beginning, like in Expedition 33, right? But I think that if you look at 2026, you've got a plethora of games available there. There was actually a fucking excellent post on Post Games from Chris Plant posted today on his podcast and on his Substack, where he talks to 50 video game personalities. So it's like directors, journalists, reporters, blah, blah, blah. And basically, they were talking about what's their early game of the year this year. And the list was unreal. Like Mixtape, Cairn, Titanium Court, Resident Evil 9, Vampire Crawlers, Pocopia, Slay the Spire 2, Mina the Hollower, 007 First Light, Forza Horizon 6, Pragmata, Saros. And that's even before we've even considered games like Eugenics and Marathon. Now, Marathon's not going to win Game of the Year, but it's going to be someone's Game of the Year. That's games that we know and have played for the most part. Now, this is we're recording this on the 15th of June, Liam. So, officially, unofficially, at the halfway point of the year, right? But we've still got an absolute cunt load of games to play. Black Flag Remake, Halo Remake, Beast of Reincarnation, Tokon Fighting Souls, Master Collection 2, Dawnwalker, Fire Emblem, Wolverine, Control, Resonant, Onimusha, Way of the Sword, Townfall, Gears, Castlevania, Final Fantasy Resonance, COD, Grand Theft Auto 6, and the big fucking shitter himself, Ocarina of Time. Like, we could have a game of the year of any of those. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they hit at the right time and they hit well enough, any one of those games that we've played already and games that are coming up could be game of the year. But that's just outrageous. Like that list of games, if you had told me the year was only going to be made up with the games that we've already played, fine. I'd have been okay with that. But you're telling me you've still got all that to look forward to for the rest of this year. It's nuts. And that's before we even factor in like smaller indie titles and stuff like that as well, that maybe do show up in Steam Next Fest or come out in early access or blah, 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 blah. Like, that's even before we've even considered anything like that just hits and becomes an absolute fucking smash for folk. It's crazy. Like, I don't think I could remember anything like this before. So yeah, 2026 has been a good year for games.
Well said. No, I definitely concur. I've got a list of 10 games, my own personal ones. I've said they're the best games that I've played this year, and I thought to myself, if this was like, if you could nominate 10 for the Game of the Year list, I'd look at it and go, yeah, cool. Like, we can stop releasing games now, like you said.
Yeah,
I think it'd be a very, very good year. The fact that we've still got arguably the better half of the year to come in terms of what's on there, who knows? But I think what's been great about this year so far, there's been so many indie games and smaller titles that have really did the heavy lifting and, created and generated that excitement for video games, and with every year it's the same. Where it's if you're really into video games, or if you're just wanting something a bit different, the best place is always within the indies because you're going to find something different. And there's not me bashing AAA games. I'm not a fan of doing that because I don't think it makes you any more or less a gamer if you just like to play the AAAs. But the fact is, start of the year, usually you kind of get more of the smaller teams releasing really cool stuff, and then it gets heavier as the year goes on. But has there been a clear front runner for you? What's been your front runner? I suppose what we're going to do is have a bit of fun here, Scott, right? Before I get into that, so I don't want to give the ghost away here. Give me your top 10 games, not in no order, top 10 games of the year so far.
Of the year?
Just your shortlist.
Titanium Court, Resident Evil Requiem, Pokemon Pocopia, Mina the Hollower, Eugenics, Vampire Crawlers, Cairn is in there probably. Saros is in there as well. Can I think of two more that I've played? Am I missing anything there that I've played?
There's one on my list that I think you're missing. Neo 3.
Neo 3, yeah. Can I think of a 9th? 10th, sorry.
10th. Well, maybe I'll give you mine. And it might spark inspiration because there's a lot of doublers on there. Mentioned Neo 3. Vampire Crawlers also on there. Game I rinsed and absolutely adored. Requiem, got that on my top 10 here. I've got 007 First Light. I have Forza Horizon 6. Also have Titanium Court. Also have Pocopia and Mina the Hollower. I've also got Mixtape. And then, not last but not least, I've put Crimson Desert because I had a blast with that game. Really did. And if you've went back to Dragon's Dogma 2, I'd remain hopeful that going back to Crimson, because you'll go back one day, it's like, it's a totally different game. But yeah, I mean, if we pause for a second, right, all those games that we just mentioned there, I mean, what a fantastic year it has been. I mean, all of them have just been standout experiences. They don't have to be 10 out of 10. No. It's just something that I've thoroughly enjoyed playing. And I suppose the next part here, Scott, right, we've got a shortlist. And I'm going to start from the bottom and we'll get to the game of the year so far. But has there been the best game that nobody is talking about?
Oh, man. I really struggled with this question there. And it is just because the industry's moved so quickly that not talking about something can mean it's completely unknown or it's just kind of been swallowed up by other things that hasn't had the time to kind of get any joy on that. For me, the one that nobody's really talking about is probably Mina the Hollower. I think that it had its time. It came and went very quickly. It released and then we forgot about it. And I think that, that may be a victim of release season or, showcase season where all of our attention is on the new rather than the old new. But I think that once people go back and realise how good Mina the Hollower was and is, you'll see another bump in that because it's incredible. You're seeing people just like finish it now and come out and say best games of the year, blah blah blah. So I'd say that Mina the Hollower's probably up there. Aye,
it's a good show actually. I think for me, I'm totally with you, but in the purpose of keeping it different, I'm going to stick with Neo 3 because I think that for the exact same reason, it had its wee moment, had its weekend or two, and we moved on. And a good few episodes ago, I think when Saros is out, we'll talk about that fast versus slow coverage. Yeah. And that is the problem with it. And it's just because, we are extensions of it as well, both as players, but as, punters or purveyors of, small games media. I think that we do have a habit of just kind of moving on to the next thing really, really quickly as an extension of marketing beats. And we're craving that discourse, the dreaded word. It's something that unfortunately, just comes and goes very, very quickly. But alas, I'm going to move on. Speaking of which, what was been the most disappointing game of the year? Because I have a belter.
You have a belter. Mine's probably not a belter, but it's probably going to shock most people. It's not like me to be a little bit controversial, but I think that my disappointment already for this year is probably Saros, and that it came out with all this hype. Rahul Kohli, spiritual successor to Returnal, Housemark, is that right? So definitely something that we should all be looking forward to, and it looked great in all its previews. People talking about, it's going to be one of the games of the year, it's going to be one of the best games for Housemark, and it kind of limped over the line for me, to be honest with you. Like, when I finished that game, it was almost just like, right, okay, well, that's fine, we'll see you later. Like, there was nothing dragging me back, whereas with Returnal, I was always keen to go back and play it. I can probably say this with a degree of certainty, Liam, that I don't think I'll ever play Saros ever again. Like, even if they were to announce that Solid Snake was in it all of a sudden, I don't think I'd be bothered, because it doesn't do anything new. It doesn't do anything like that you couldn't already do in Returnal. So it's just lacking. It's lacking that little something that tips the scale in that direction. So it's definitely a disappointing game. And to be honest with you, and I'm probably going to be the only person on the internet to say it, so I'll say this out loud, and then I'll hopefully not hear back from him. But performance was a wee bit shite, Liam. Rahul Kohli didn't blow me away. It was a bit, one-dimensional. Then that was it. It's like the story itself didn't give him enough to work with. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I mean, I think it's not because he was kind of like a less is more. I've not played Saros, but is it kind of like the style of storytelling?
No, it didn't really give him. It didn't really give him anything. Like, less is more. Fair enough, but it wasn't. There was nothing to it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I don't think if people have been listening along, they're not going to be too surprised. I think you could hear it, and it's not to say that this game's terrible. But I suppose you're right. With all the hype, unfortunately, it can lead to disappointment. For me, though, I've picked one that, speaking about things we've forgotten about, and speaking of things that get hyped up beyond belief, I'm coming here with receipts. And my most disappointing game is going to Highguard. That's right, Jeff. We're listening. But you're talking about putting a game on a pedestal and setting it up for the biggest of falls. In 2026, I don't think there's been anything more catastrophic in terms of a disappointment than Highguard, which has been promised to be the next big thing, etc. Getting pride of place, all things outside of its control, of course, but a lesson that I don't think's been learned by that platform. But yeah, in terms of most disappointing, I think that's probably an easy one. But yeah, I can't really think of anything else that's probably been more disappointing, even playing it and really going in thinking, give it a try, and it was rotten. to be nice about it, it was just rotten. It wasn't like we didn't understand the game. It's just sometimes it just ain't fun. And hey ho, Liam, what are you going to do, Scott?
I know that we're trying to be professional here, right? I know we are, right? I get it.
But
we
can't
avoid this. We can't avoid it. The big gaping fucking maw that has just been announced. Like, we can't not. I can't sit here for another 10, 20 minutes holding in my rage.
We have to. We have to let it brew, let it flow. God. We're going to find out. There's been breaking news once we've been talking, but we're going to keep it to after this purely to keep the flow of the conversation going. But and then Scott's going to unload both barrels.
Don't
do it.
That's funny as well.
I'm wanting to keep that pipe bomb for maximum dramatic impact, because by the time this goes live, it's going to be old news anyway. But in the moment, it's breaking. But yeah, alas, I'm going to skip my next one because I don't really think there's anything on there. But I want to go to best indie, Scott. What would you say has been the best indie so far and has a chance to still be in that category come the end of the year?
I don't think it'll shock anyone. I'm going to give you two, Liam.
Okay.
I was going to take a leaf out of your book and do the whole big surprise and best indie between the two of them, but I'll give you that. So I think Mirror the Hollower is definitely in there. Probably one of the best indie games, if not best games of this year. And the sooner people realise that, the better. And Titanium Court, the fact that came out of fucking nowhere and, lit up the world for the time that it did. Amazing work.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, I couldn't agree more. Those two games, I think they're definitely going to be there. Mina the Hollow World deserves the accolades in terms of that. I would love some love for Vampire Crawlers, though, which I think would be my next category, which would be biggest surprise. But yeah, I think Mina the Hollow and Titanium Court for sure will be there at the end for Best Indie. If it's not, we're on crack. But I'm going to ask you, mention my biggest surprise title. What do you think would be yours for this year? Because mine is Vampire Crawlers, the turbo wildcard from Vampire Survivors.
You frozen, Liam? You froze?
Oh, no, I should be back.
Say it again.
Nothing but technical difficulties. I'm saying, what would be your biggest surprise so far?
I mean, I think it probably is Mina the Hollower. I think that after all the reports and after everything that has been said about it, the writing was on the wall for yacht clubs saying that they had to be successful with this and they had to see something out of it. And the fact that they've done that without much said against it, I think that's the big surprise. I think people thought this game would be absolute shite because it was delayed and in development hell for such a long time. But, let these teams fucking cook and they will deliver a succulent Chinese meal, Liam.
I know, what is the charge? I suppose we get to the big one here, right? It might be a clean sweep, but what is currently your game of the year?
I toed and froed, Liam. I did to and fro. I think that this was a sort of head and heart situation kind of thing. I think that I want to try and win the game here. And if I wanted to try and win the game, then, maybe a Mina the Hollower could get there or something else. But I don't think that's going to do it. I also don't think the game that I'm going to choose is going to win either, because I think that it's too mainstream to win this sort of thing. But I settled on it early, and I think that it's still up there with the best games that I've played for this year. And it's absolutely Resident Evil 9 Requiem. I think that it was a fucking masterpiece of a game from start to finish. Even the end, even though it did, linger on a wee bit, it done so much with the characters. Leon's character development through the whole story was amazing. The way that his character changes as time goes on. And as you play through the game, is it Grace? I think it was Grace Ashcroft, playing that in first person with her, and it takes you back and sort of evokes Resident Evil 7 and 8. It's like, it's just, there's no perfect way to play Resident Evil 9. You just experience it, and it's fucking excellent every single minute of it. So, Resident Evil 9 is 100% my choice for this.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the rare cases for a game that comes out so early in the year to still be in the conversation for, like, it's a lock, right at the end of the year. I don't think, for record, before I reveal mine, I don't think like Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to take home Game of the Year. I don't think it's going to do that. But I think Resident Evil 9 Requiem for sure has as good a chance as anybody to be there at the end. So I think it's a very good choice. My own Game of the Year, and I took the fraud on it, and I was like, what one would it be? But honestly, mine's right now is Mixtape. I think that absolutely blew me away personally. Thoroughly enjoyed the experience. It resonated with us, and let's say I've given that a 10 on the show. Stand by it, and I would love more games and gaming experiences like that. And yeah, for me, I'm not as confident about it being in the Game of the Year conversation at the end of the year, just because I think other bigger, chunky, beefier games will kind of shunt it out the road. But I think it will be in that conversation for like best indie or something like best narrative. But what that managed to do in that kind of 3 to 4 hours that I was with it was just absolutely perfect for me. It felt like that movie type experience that you could interact with. And yeah, I really do hope that we're still talking about it come the end of the year, because it's something that what sets it apart is I could recommend that to non-gamers as well, and they would still enjoy it to the same level. But alas, we're talking about stuff that's there. But last week we talked about the autumn problem. Is there any upcoming games do you think that could disrupt the race, or could be joining those two on the game of the year? Now, we did say GTA 6. Do you think that's got a chance at being in the game of the year conversation? Don't forget it's out in November.
I don't think so, no. I think that it's sort of taboo to even suggest that Grand Theft Auto 6 could potentially make a game of the year list. I think it's just almost too big that if they came out and said that, Grand Theft Auto doesn't need it. It's like, it'll be fine without it. If I had to choose, is there going to be anything else that comes out? I don't know. I can't. I don't think I can look at any of the games that are coming out and any of them have the quality to take a game of the year. Like, I think that they'll be great games, but I don't think they're going to be games of this year.
Fire Emblem?
Nah.
Ocarina?
Nah.
I don't think Ocarina makes it, because I have a funny feeling that's coming out in December, if not the absolute arse end, the toenails of November. You know what I mean? So Wolverine, no. Wolverine and Gears, right? The two big tentpoles, I suppose, for Xbox and PlayStation. I think that's 2 8s battling it out. Yes. You know what I mean? And I say that as a total Marvel and Gears mark. I know exactly what I'm in for, and that is a fucking great time.
Mm-hmm.
But Game of the Year material, no, I think it needs to have that extra sauce. And you're right, GTA 6, my concern is that I think it's going to be a almost troubling, obsessively crafted masterpiece in terms of a game world. It's going to blow us away. But that doesn't win you much clout, because this is like the AAA-est of AAA games, and it's going to absolutely shatter expectations and do all sorts of records. But that's not really sexy, is it? You know what I mean? And it's also has its own thing. It's like, if you want that to be the poster child, there's a lot in play, and just because you're the biggest doesn't necessarily mean you're the best as well. But like he says, it don't need it. It's a bit like, I don't know. It's a bit like giving like Timothée Chalamet the Oscar for Best Actor. Yeah, he might get nominated, but he's not going to get it, even though the young ones enjoy it and he's popular. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to land it, alas. But I'm with you. I think the only Final Fantasy Resonance, maybe? Who knows?
Nah, I think we've seen the game of the year already. I really do. I don't think any of the games that could come out with the remainder of this year are going to be that special, unless there is an indie game that drops that has that wee fucking Scooby Boot, But I think that it's a toss up between a few. You know what I mean? Like, I think that you're going to see a lot of games on there. I think Mixtape is probably a shout for it. I think that you could make arguments for Mina the Hollower. Even things like fucking I think Pragmata might even be up there as well. I don't think Resident Evil thing. Yes. I think Pragmata might be up there. But
what about Onimusha?
Nah.
No?
It's a bit too niche. I think that...
So it's another 8?
Yeah, I think that'll get lumped in with the whole Neo crowd, and I think people will be like, it's too similar. Unless it's not shown as something, That's the thing with these games, is that they need to show us something different. Like Wolverine has shown us this small slice of what these missions look like. What are you doing in between all that? You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen in between there? Again, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near a game of the year list. Fire Emblem, I think, again, it's a bit too involved and too anime, so I don't think that's going to get it. Blood of the Dawnwalker, maybe, if that fucking knocks it out of the park, but I think that's going to
7 or 8.
I just don't think we're going to see it. If Control Resonant does something really special and manages
I think
to...
that has a huge chance.
Yeah.
It's a very good point, because I've forgotten about that, but that has a massive chance.
Yeah.
Being from Remedy.
Silent Hill Townfall as well, maybe, if it captures that. I think I was listening to some of the sort of reports on that, and people were talking about how it's, actively taking into consideration British culture. Like there's newage agents in the game, and you have to go and like top up your electric card and all that as well. So it's
textured wallpaper.
Yeah, I mean it's class sounding. So as a period piece, it might do really well. But I think if I'm looking at the list of games to come, Control, maybe Silent Hill, and for shits and gigs, I'll give Ocarina of Time a shout in there as well. Maybe it'll come out and be just after Grand Theft Auto, and it'll destroy the world.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it can make the selection, if it can release in time for it, always tricky with November releases. I can't remember what the cut-off date is because they did change it. But I have a funny feeling that Ocarina's, they're probably going to aim either the week before or the week after GTA 6, probably the week before, actually, now I think about it, because it'd be stupid to do after. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo dropped it in December as well. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're going to be going for the jugular at Christmas with Switch 2s, which is, how do we get the old farts? The amount of TikToks I've seen in the past week of just that little Ocarina tune, and it's just adults, it's like, I'm not buying a Switch 2, and then they put the Ocarina.
Aye.
And it's like,
and it pops in their hands.
That's them. And it's true, that's the power that this game will have, but also people like ourselves that maybe want to pass it on to the new generation, experience it. And what will happen is it will come out. The thing is, I think might stop it. It's going to come out. You're going to get all the old farts going, it's not as good as the original and all that, because we're not kids. Like, that's the thing to remember. And one thing that I'm learning more and more about Nintendo and reminded of is that it's not really for us. Like, they are made for children, and we as big children can still enjoy them, but it's not our Nintendo. You know what I mean? It's the new kids. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were mentioning how it's almost like they've Disneyfied it. So it's not Disneyfied anything. That's just what kids like today.
Mm-hmm.
I don't use that as a pejorative. I'm like, well, my kids enjoy it. They don't know any different. Put old Disney in front of them, they'd hate it. Put old Nintendo, as I've tried in some cases. They're like, why is everything so jaggy? So, this, we had to use our imaginations, but, put a hyper-polished Ocarina of Time, they're going to be like, cool, that could have the same effect on them as it did for us almost 30 years ago. So it's, Jesus Christ. Yeah. It's disgusting. But yeah, what is your prediction then for what wins in December if you would take all of that into account, just one simple game?
Mixtape.
I am going to go left field against the grain, and one that I've not mentioned, and I think that they're going to pay it its dues, and I'm going to say Forza Horizon 6. I think they're going to pay it its dues. I think that this is almost to be like, how do they split a year so jam-packed? And it's like, just get to Forza.
Get to Forza.
Again.
Oh, mate, the world will implode,
It's so funny. And don't be wrong, incredible game, but I think it's niche.
Right.
Niche is the word that you said. How dare
I just don't think it. I don't think it has the sauce. That's why I've not mentioned it once. I think if you look at the options, Mixtape is arty and farty, and I think it captures that tone that people want to vote for. You know what I mean? Like, I think that'll do a lot for it. So I hadn't even considered it, to be honest with you, but now that I'm thinking about it, it makes a lot more sense in my head.
Well, then we have it then. Mixtape seems to be getting most of the nods. I would love it if it did. I think it'd be deserving. We could also just be wrong and they just do give it a GTA 6, but I just don't see it happening. But let us know what you think. What's been your best game you've played so far this year? Has there been anything else that's totally captivated you? What do you think is going to win Game of the Year? Let us know in the comments below. But also, we'll give a quick reminder of this month's Pixel Picks replay, which is Tetris Effect. So for June 2026, we're replaying that. Part of the Pixel Picks list replay. We're going to just do one game a month, select it at random, and at the end of the month, we'll have a wee retrospective chat. We might even put that up to next week before Scott departs us, and then I will pick the next one the following week. Who with? Well, you just have to stay tuned to find out. But Scott, we did promise a pipe bomb before that we finished the show. And in keeping with what seems tradition, what is the breaking news that we're hearing surrounding Xbox at the end of this episode?
So, after our big conversation about the terrible news about Xbox Studios potentially shuttering Compulsion Games, Jason Schreier at 21:16 announced that Ninja Theory and Double Fine are also negotiating with Xbox to avoid closure. So, not doing the Tango Gameworks and just fucking throwing them out to die, is that they're actually trying to actively leave with their heads fucking rightly held high. The scary part here, Liam, is that that's actually not just them for the chopping block as well. Jason Schreier has since come out and spoken about the fact that they're not the only 3 Xbox studios at risk of closure. There's loads of uncertainty, but he said that the Xbox of July will look drastically different to the Xbox of June. And Liam, 100 days, the honeymoon period is well and truly fucking over. You know, Married at First Sight Australia is done. You look at your husband, you look at your wife, and you're like, oh my God, I married a fucking monster. This is horrific. You know, I want to joke about it. I do want to joke about it because it's almost unbelievable the decisions that they're making here. You know, like, and studios such as fucking Ninja Theory, Double Fine. Ninja Theory, who just announced Senua, for fucking Christ's sake. Double Fine, who just put out Kiln, but put one of the most critically acclaimed games in Psychonauts 2. Compulsion, as we mentioned before, with the bloody South of Midnight as well. It is just frightening. You know, Double Fine, its history is fucking speaks for itself. Do you know what I mean? But it's just incredible how this is going to continue. You know, this is what we know now. And in a week's time, we might be talking about an id Software, or we might be talking about something to do with Bethesda, because Bethesda have done fuck all. Like, you know, there's only so many fucking Fallout 76 adverts that you can make. It's just, I don't think we'll see it. I don't think you're going to see a Bethesda. I don't think you're going to see like fucking anyone big. But the fact that we're even sitting here at this time talking about this, it's just mad. Absolutely maddening. I was angry before. I was angrier before, but now I'm just like indifferent. You know, it's not even indifference, it's just shock, awe. I can't believe what I'm reading. Like, you know, you overreach in some moments. COD costs a lot of money to buy, and then you make a fucking shanter, and this is what happens. Do you know what I mean? Like, at some point, you have to make the fucking decision just to pull the cord. Be like, right, here we go. But shutting these studios, I think if we can get those studios back out into a normal place where they can create these games by themselves, you know what I mean? Great, do that, because then we can still look at a future where these games still exist. But how do you do that with a Senua? Do you know what I mean? Let's just like, announce this game for the game showcase, but we're going to make close in a week. It's like, what? I just don't get it, man.
I think what's happened is if they're negotiating, you're probably going to find, I would predict that by the time this episode goes live, I wouldn't be surprised if Double Fine had already gone, Compulsion already gone. With Ninja Theory, it's probably like, well, do you know what? Finish the game and then you're gone. But you'll hear nothing about it. Jason Schreier, obviously the man that's broke the story on Bloomberg, has said that these are not the only 3 Xbox studios at risk of closure. There's still a lot of uncertainty surrounding the company's plans. More to come in the next few days and weeks. It's safe to say that the Xbox of July will look drastically different than the Xbox of June. It just sucks. It just sucks. You know, but
I just can't go over it, man. But again, this is what we know now. It's just, you know, at the beginning of the day, it was Compulsion. By the end of it, we're looking at 2 other studios. Tomorrow morning, we might be looking at something completely different. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's crazy. Like, fucking, I don't even want to speculate on it because it's just not fair. Like, looking at all these game studios and stuff like that. And Xbox aren't the only culprit here. We've had PlayStation with fucking Bluepoint. I don't want people to get it twisted and the fact that we're not fucking shitting on that, but Xbox are just the main culprits at the moment. They're fucking tossing these things like sweets. So,
well,
I just don't know what to say, man. It's mad.
like we're saying with the Game of the Year conversation, the future of games perhaps really does lie in the independent scene. But again, what's your thoughts on it, folks? You know, like, let us know in the conversation. Send in your thoughts. Is it something that we should be braced for? Is it the signs of just things to come? Or is it just something, is it the gaming industry as nature healing itself? Let us know. We'd be delighted to get your thoughts. But alas, that does bring us to an end to this week's episode. So thank you once again for joining us. And remember to support small independent games media out there. So if you like what you hear, you enjoy the podcast, please share on social media, tell your friends about us, and leave us a wee 5-star review. All helps out and makes a massive difference. And please remember, join a free Patreon community at patreon.com/pixelparents to support the show. We're on Reddit at r/Reddit as well. Test time. Scott, where can people find you if they want to harp on about Xbox Online with you?
I'm trying to parse together Liam's tones here because he's sounding more and more robotic as this episode has gone on. It's like talking to fucking cyborg ninja. A Dalek, but I will be on Blue Sky, llamaman.bsky.social. Just speechless.
And you can find me at carmelite.bsky.social. I'll give a massive thank you to producer and music man, very talented and handsome Mr. Sean Murray. So please go show him some love and check out his work on Instagram at barehandsdesigns and barehandsdesigns.com. You can listen to the next episode on all your major podcast platforms. Follow us on Blue Sky at pixelparents.bsky.social. And of course, like we mentioned, write to us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. Like we mentioned, join us next week for Scott's official goodbye, but more of a see you later as he goes off for the next chapter. And wherever you are,
goodbye,
like, share.
Goodbye, good friends, goodbye.
Subscribe.
I will be fucking clinging on to your ass like a hemorrhoid as that as you want to go on.
Indeed. And like we always say, wherever you are, play some damn games. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thank you for listening.
Savlon time. Apply generously. Oh, good God.